Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. First up, granite staters dig out from heavy, wet snow. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Ray Brewer and Andy Hirschberger.
Out the door when it matters most. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
By 6 o'clock in the morning in the Milford area, the cleanup was well underway. Plows pushing the slush that accumulated off to the side of the road. While only about 3 or 4 inches of snow fell, it was followed by rain. The result, a heavy wet snow.
It's hard on the equipment. It takes much longer. You burn double the gas.
Bob Farr began clearing his driveway with his plow, but eventually had to switch to his tractor. The snow just too heavy for the plow. It also took a toll on their equipment. His wife is in charge of snow blowing.
The snowblower was having a hard time going through, even with it being slow, and it actually through a belt or cotter pin or something.
You could hear the ice scraping as Peter Pellerin shoveled his walk. A bit nostalgic for the old days when kids would come around with shovels offering to clear your driveway or walk.
I used to be the kid. I used to be paid by candy and beach balls and stuff like that by the older women that couldn't afford it, but that didn't bother me.
Now, the roads here are in pretty good shape. However, you still might want to watch your step when you go to the sidewalks or parking lots. Those could still be icy. Reporting live in Wilton, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
While it was a slushy mix in some parts of the state, further north in places like Tilton, it was mostly all snow. And that's where we find WMUR's Andy Hirschberger. And how are things looking out there, Andy?
Well, Aaron, this is a look at Route 3 and Route 132 here in Tilton. And most of the snow here ended before the sun came up, and the morning commute was relatively calm in the Tilton area. By mid-morning, most people were busy cleaning their cars and driveways, getting ready for work or for taking care of the kids for the day. Winnisquam School District canceled classes today, and the Tilton Police Chief says that probably helped ease traffic during the morning rush hour. Don Judd, who works for Rusty's Towing, says they were on the road early, but things weren't as busy as usual during a snowstorm.
It's a little bit less today because I think people are slowing down and taking a little more cautious, but we're usually, during a storm, pretty busy.
Well, the roads up here, as you can see, are down to bare blacktop. It is still spitting snow a little bit, and it's been spitting snow throughout most of the morning, but very little in the way of added accumulation. Reporting live in Tilton, I'm Andy Hirschberger, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire troopers issue 17 Jessica Law tickets in just 4 hours. After a winter storm dumped snow and wintry mix across the state, New Hampshire State Police issued 17 tickets over a 4-hour period Wednesday. Take a look at this photo here. As you can see, still covered with snow and ice. That is very dangerous for the roadway. Police said one Troop B trooper stopped 21 vehicles and issued 19 traffic tickets, including 17 for failure to clear snow and ice from their vehicles. Police didn't detail how many tickets were written statewide. Troop B covers the Nashua-Manchester area. Police said all drivers were required to clear their vehicle of snow and ice before they could leave the traffic stop. The trooper also arrested 2 people for reason unrelated to Jessica's loss. Since 2002, New Hampshire drivers have been legally required to clear snow and ice off their cars before getting on the road. Drivers who violate the law faces a fine of $250 to $500 for the first offenses and $500 to $1,000 for multiple offenses. So, everyone, remember to clean off that vehicle before you get on that roadway. You do not want to get stopped and pay the fine. Weld to announce substantial move toward GOP primary challenger of Trump. Former Massachusetts governor to reveal political plans at Politics Eggs in Event Friday. Former Massachusetts Governor William Weld will make a substantial move toward a challenge to President Donald Trump for the 2020 Republican presidential nomination when he speaks in Bedford this week, sources said Wednesday. Weld has been considering a presidential bid for at least several weeks and said last month that he would announce his plans at the Politics Eggs and Breakfast on February 15th at the Bedford Village Inn. World War II veteran's family trying to find his fellow soldiers. Let's take a look at this video.
After the attack on Pearl Harbor, Richard Perkins joined the Army and was stationed at Fort Shafter as a radio operator. He was also an avid photographer. When he died in 2014, his family inherited a closet full of photo albums and a tin can.
This is everything that was inside. You know, it's rolls of black and white film, 35 millimeter film.
Dana Perkins digitized the undeveloped film, nearly 800 photographs taken on Oahu during World War II. Many are of military personnel that were stationed here.
We've got a few names, a lot of them is just initials, and that's why we're trying to fill in the pieces.
Perkins started the Pacific Veterans Project. A website displays his father's photographs of service members, civilians, and children. He hopes people will see their relatives and contact him.
If family members get a hold of us, we'll be happy to send them the complete picture that their loved one is in.
The photos also show how Honolulu has changed. Milton Makita's helping Perkins identify places that have disappeared.
It kind of provides a lot of background, history. Things that, you know, this thing existed 70 years ago, and they don't exist now.
Perkins wants to compile the images into a book.
And I've also got boxes of 8 millimeter movies that I'm just starting to dig into, in addition to all the photos.
After everything is digitized, he'll donate the originals to a military museum or photo archive in Hawaii.
We have no interest in keeping the originals because they're just going to continue to deteriorate over time.
The photographs are also a treasure for the Perkins family, giving them insight into a part of Richard Perkins' life that he rarely spoke about.
He made it very clear that he felt that the those were the ones that didn't make it back home.
If you want to see the photographs, we've put a link to the Pacific Veterans Project on our website. Jim Mendoza, Hawaii News Now.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. After remarkable run on Mars, Opportunity rover falls silent. NASA's Opportunity, the Mars rover that was built to operate for just 3 months but kept going and going, rolling across the rocky red soil, was pronounced dead Wednesday, 15 years after it landed on the planet. The six-wheeled vehicle that helped gather crucial evidence that ancient Mars might have been hospitalized to life was remarkable spry up until 8 months ago, when it was finally doomed by a furious dust storm. Flight controllers tried numerous times to make contact and sent one final series of recovery commands Tuesday night, along with one last wake-up song. Billie Holiday's I'll Be Seeing You, in a somber exercise that brought tears to the team's members' eyes. There was no response from space, only silence. Thomas, head of NASA's science mission, broke the news to the Opportunity team at what amounted to a wake at the Space Agency Jet Laboratory in Paradise, California, announcing the dems of our beloved Opportunity. Given the silence from space, it is therefore that I'm standing here with a sense of deep appreciation and gratitude that I declare the Opportunity mission as complete, told a packed auditorium. It's an emotional time. The golf cart-sized Opportunity outlived its twin, the Spirit rover, by several years. The two slow-moving vehicles landed on opposite sides of the planet in 2004 for a mission meant to last 90 Mars days, which are 30 minutes longer than a day on Earth. In the end, Opportunity set endurance and distance records that could stand for years, if not decades. Trembling along until communication cast last June, Opportunity roamed a record 28 miles, 45 kilometers around Mars, and worked longer than any other lander anywhere ever. Opportunity was a robotic geologist equipped with cameras and instruments at the end of the robot arm for grinding away layers, taking microscope images, and analyzing encompassing of rocks and soil. Its greatest achievement was discovering, along with Spirit, evidence that ancient Mars had water flowing on its surface and might have been capable of sustaining microbial life. Opportunity was exploring Mars Valley flattening when the furious dust storm in decades hit and contact was lost. The storm was so intense that it darkened the sky for months, preventing sunlight from reaching the rover's solar panels. When the sky finally cleared, Opportunity remained silent, its internal clock possibly so scrambled that it no longer knew when to sleep or wake up to receive commands. Flight controllers sent more than 1,000 recovery commands, all in vain. With project cost reaching about $500,000 a month, NASA decided there is no point in continuing. Celis said the last-ditch attempt the night before to make contact was a sad moment, with tears and applause when the operation team signed off. He said the team members didn't even bother waiting around to see if it would come back from space. They knew it was hopeless. Scientists consider this the end of an era. Now that Opportunity and Spirit are both gone. Opportunity was fifth of 8 spacecrafts to successfully land on Mars so far, all belonging to NASA. Only 2 are still working. The nuclear-powered Curiosity rover, plowing around since 2012, and the recently arrived InSight, which just this week placed a heat-sensing, self-hammering probe on the dusty red surface to burrow into the planet-like mole. 3 more landers from the US, China, and Europe are due to launch next year. NASA Administration Jim said the overriding goal is to search for evidence of the past or even present microlife at Mars and find substantial locations to send astronauts, perhaps in 2030. "2020 Democrat contender Gillibrand starts 3-day trip in Concord." Presidential contender Senator Christina Gillibrand will kick off her upcoming 3-day swing through New Hampshire with a stop in Concord. The Monitor has learned that the Democrat from New York will take a walking tour of downtown Concord on Friday morning. Gillibrand will start the tour around 11 a.m. at Riverstoke Coffee in Eagle Square. The senator will then head to Dover, where she'll be guided on a tour of downtown businesses by Democratic National Committee member Bill Sheehan. Later in the afternoon, Gillibrand will meet with members of the LGBTQ community in Somersworth, which is known as New Hampshire's Rainbow City. The gathering will take place at Tentril, a cafe that's became a mecca for local Democrats and progressive activists. Gillibrand, who launched a presidential exploratory committee last month, will be in Exeter Saturday morning, teaming up with Democrat Senator John Morgan, and take a walking tour of downtown businesses. The senator then heads west for a meet and greet with voters at Keene's Community Kitchen. Later, Gillibrand holds a town hall in Hanover at Dartmouth College, her alma mater. The 3 p.m. event is scheduled to take place at the Hopkins Center's Alum Hall. The visit is Gillibrand's second to the first in the nation primary state since launching her campaign. 2 weeks ago, she made stops in Manchester, Nashua, Portsmouth, Durham, and Littleton. Gillibrand was last in Concord in October when she campaigned with Democratic governor nominee Molly Kelly. The two stopped at Granite State Candy Shop and helped to kick off a woman-to-woman phone bank at the NEA New Hampshire offices in Concord. And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Wednesday evening. And here's a look at your U.S. stock market for this Wednesday evening. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the green and went up. Your Nasdaq closed in the green and went up. S&P 500 closed in the green and went up. Gold closed in the red and went down. Oil closed in the green and went up. U.S. 10-year closed in the red and went down. Euro/USD closed in the red and went down. And VIX closed in the red and went down. Dow rises for a second straight day as Wall Street cheers for possibility. Stocks rose on Wednesday as investors grew hopeful that China and U.S. trade authorities would reach an agreement before the deadline in early March. Lawmakers say Trump won't sign funding agreement that includes contract back pay. Negotiations hit a new swing just 2 days before the government funding deadline. With just 2 days left for lawmakers to reach a deal to keep the government open, negotiations hit a new swing Wednesday over the push by Democrats to include back pay for thousands of federal contractors hit by last month's longest ever potential government shutdown. Republican Senator Roy Blunt said President Donald Trump would refuse to sign any agreement that includes contractor back pay. And that does it for the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday night, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night, everyone. Bye.